And with that, we're now ready for our fourth session. The communications platform as a service is revolutionizing the way financial institutions interact with customers. This next session is set on exploring CPaaS use cases in Fintech for enhanced customer engagement and seamless financial services that will help us understand this in depth. A revered list of speakers for our panel discussion are here with us, and I do request each and every one of you to give them a round of applause as I welcome them up on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome up on stage Vish, Bajaj, CEO and founder ValueFirst. A round of applause for Neil Patel, co-founder and CEO at Avaz, and Satish, Saraf, co-founder at Whistle. Thank you so very much, each and every one of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues and distinguished guests, it gives me immense pleasure today to delve on a topic which is so important, right? It is the intersection between finance and technology. CPaaS, or maybe in other words, communication platform as a service, is everything what you see today when you transact on your bank, the OTP which you receive, or the automated currency rates which you get, the automated notifications which you see, right? Everything is CPaaS playing. The idea today is to delve into the questions or the topic around the same and see what kind of value can we, or what are the further future possibilities in CPaaS, and what kind of security issues do we see, what are the current technology available. Yeah. So I will request Neil and Vish to give maybe their quick intro on this, and then we delve into some questions around the same.
Okay. So shall I start first? Okay. Hi, everyone. So when I founded ValueFirst in 2003, this is 20 years ago, in October we will complete 20 years. At that time, I did not even know that I have founded a CPaaS business. Only after 10 years of being in the industry, I came to know what we do is CPaaS. Now, CPaaS, of course, just for clarity, that what it means really for end users of what we offer as a company. So generally, everyone needs to communicate. And CPaaS providers are providing APIs using which you can embed communication solutions in your own systems. For example, a fintech company, because the context is fintech, if they want to integrate communication over any kind of telecom channel or internet channel, they can do so. For example, SMS, which of course is one of the predominant channels, voice, whether it is inbound, outbound, missed calls, all of that can be integrated through an API into the fintech product. Likewise, on the internet side, we have WhatsApp, we have email. We also provide, for example, RCS, which is an upcoming channel, which is Rich Communication Services from Google, video interactions. So all of the communication modes are now available to be embedded into the product using APIs from CPaaS providers. So that is what CPaaS really is. Now, how it has evolved over time is that, for example, like I said, when we set up the business, we were a SMS company, so we had only one channel. Over time, the channels kept growing because ultimately brands want to reach out their consumers where they are present. So voice became important, especially vernacular, and likewise, most of the Indians are now spending their time on WhatsApp. So WhatsApp is an integral CPaaS channel. WhatsApp has also been integrated with chatbots because in the channel you need to communicate in an interactive manner. So what CPaaS providers are doing is creating all these platforms or channels under like one integrated API or through one integrated panel. So all of this can be used by fintech companies to manage their business processes. So starting with, it could be lead gen, it could be even the entire workflow. So fintech companies can use the CPaaS technology in many, many ways. So I think that is the intro to the theme and the CPaaS providers as such. So we can look into the future or security, whatever you would like to cover, Neil.
Sure. Well, I wanted to just build on what you were sharing, Satish, and offer a different way of looking at CPaaS. So I think, in India in general, and probably specifically within the fintech sector, we're really great at building new types of products and services. So from the fintech lens, it's different types of financial products. But I think we oftentimes deprioritize the customer experience, right? So for me personally, I get nervous every time I have to visit my bank branch to get any kind of task done, because I'm not sure how long it's going to take to complete a task and how complex those processes are going to be. And I usually mentally prepare myself that I have to return to the branch multiple times to get a job done. So there is a lack of customer delight in the products and services that we're building. And I think that's where CPaaS comes in. What we're trying to add is a customer engagement layer to products and services, whether it's in financial services or otherwise. And as Satish rightly said, when we're talking about the Indian market, there is a specific type of customer profile with respect to how they're engaging digitally. Earlier, 5 to 10 years ago, it was SMS and voice. Voice has continued to play an important role from the vernacular standpoint. SMS, of course, is there. Now WhatsApp has become a major part of it. And now we're looking at, I think maybe as we talk about the future, more conversational experiences using natural language capable AI. So all of these channels, and delivering these through even social media, eventually even gaming platforms, different ways to meet the customer where they are. I think the responsibility of CPaaS companies is to find those ways to deliver communication in a natural way, in an engaging way, wherever the customer is, however the customer wants to interact. And so we're constantly evolving ourselves to be able to do that both cost effectively, scalably, and of course with a fantastic user experience, because we represent the front-facing user interface to any product and service that's behind.
Yeah, thanks, Neil. So today, if you see, everyone is talking about CPaaS, right? And everyone is doing their bits around it, right? SMS is unavoidable at the moment, right? Where you use it at least for your OTPs. But what are other challenges in your experience which you have seen fintechs faces during their journey of implementing CPaaS? If you can delve into it, I'm sure our audience will help.
Okay, so I think the first thing really for any fintech company is to choose the right kind of CPaaS player. Now, how do you make that choice? So as a owner of the business, as a fintech player, which is whether it is B2B or a B2C fintech play, you'd identify use cases which you want to automate through CPaaS. Now, once you have done that, you need to find out who is the provider in the market, and that knowledge is not readily available. There are, of course, mainstream players who have the full stack. They can offer all channels and maybe not only multi-channel, but even cross-channel. So first thing is to discover the right partner. And then once you have identified the partner, you also need to ask the partner.
I'll hold you here. Yeah. How do fintech companies go about finding out the right partner? Because this is a major nuance. Today, everyone talks the same language.
Yeah, one is the marketing push, which we guys do. For example, we definitely want to be right out there. So our marketing teams, whether digitally or through even SDR teams, create leads. So that is one way where we can go and showcase our capabilities. But on the discovery side, as a fintech play, it is usually in the forums like these or from your peer group, like one founder to another, word of mouth. That is also a very important way to discover the providers. And once you have done that, then you really need to ask the question that if the use case which you want to now enable on CPaaS can it be delivered by the partner? For example, your use case may involve WhatsApp and chatbot. Now, does the partner have that capability? Also, scalability. Your use case may involve millions of interactions over an hour or over a day. So your partner must have that scalability. Security could be a big driver in terms of, especially in the regulatory context also, you need to be compliant with TRAI. You need to make sure that the platform you want to integrate with offers all of that. Neil?
Yeah, I think well said, Satish. A couple things that have served Awazday well in terms of visibility and connecting with the right partners, because it's mutual. It's, of course, the CPaaS player being capable of providing the service for the use case, but then the institution also being able to fit with both technically and in terms of product vision with the CPaaS player. For us, we've been very strongly focused on the financial services space. So we've been able to develop, as you said, a bit of a brand and a word of mouth, not even just BFSI broadly, but specifically within inclusive finance, which is our main forte. We are specializing in IVR messages, which are in the local vernacular. So that has the highest applicability in inclusive banking context, whether it's microfinance, agri-finance, MSME finance, et cetera. So a lot of our clients work with us in those spaces. And what we also have been able to do is, because we've gone vertical and we've gone deep in these specific domains, we not only provide the delivery channel, the sort of the omni-channel approach to the CPaaS, we also provide the content. So it's a sort of a fuller solution where, based on the crores and crores of messages that we've sent, in our case, specifically around credit products, we have developed what we call a 360-degree customer connect. So we not only deliver a text or a WhatsApp or an IVR message at a time that the customer specifies, we actually go further and say, here is the most relevant touch points throughout the life cycle of a customer's loan. We have this menu of touch points that you can potentially avail. And not only will we send it at that point, but we will send the actual message that has been refined over crores of calls to magnify or to maximize the behavioral change or the business impact that we're trying to achieve. So that sort of that full package solution, whole product solution, content plus the delivery channel, I think has helped. And then the last thing, I'll just build off of what Satish said. For us, a big aspect of working with financial institutional players is the security. I believe that you have to take a info security first posture as a CPaaS player to be able to work in the financial services sector, because these are very highly regulated entities. They have very onerous and involved audits. We've been through so many different audits. I mean, it's like the same bank, the different banks are doing the same audit, one after the other, because there's just so much scrutiny around compliance on information security and data privacy. So that's very important. And then the last piece is integrations. All of these institutions, particularly financial institutions, have huge ecosystems, not just systems, ecosystems of oftentimes legacy financial software, core banking solutions, LMS, LOS, et cetera. If you can come out as a CPaaS player and say, I'm pre-integrated, for example, we have a partnership with Kraft Silicon, BR.net. So we are pre-integrated with BR.net. So you don't have to actually do the extra job of integrating Awazday. If you're using this LMS solution, you already get it by just flipping a switch. So those sort of deep integrations also play a role.
Neil, next time I'm looking at a CPaaS provider, I'm definitely going with you, right? It is a wonderful sales pitch to me. Yeah, but I am not sure whether the audience still have the answer. See, today anyone we talk to, right? There are multiple providers in India. How do I choose? Is there option available at me to test it at scale? Right? Today, Vish mentioned that, okay, fine, I may be able to handle millions of this, you may be able to handle billions of this, right? In a given time frame. But how do I, if I am a fintech player, how do I make sure who is the right provider. We'll come to the security bit of it. But what are one or two things in your experience of acquiring so many customers, which you have felt that, okay, fine, this is why we want it? Because the language ultimately is the same. Right? Anyone and everyone who is selling, of course, when you sell, it is wow, but not many fintech players who are looking at will be directly talking to you. There will be teams under you. Right? So what are one or two things which fintech players should look at? Okay, fine. This is something, if it is available, this gives me a sense of security that yes, I am in the right hands.
Sure. I think one of the foremost and most important really element to look at is reliability. Because ultimately, what are we providing? A communication service. So you want your message to be delivered from point A to point B at a certain specific time. So that reliability is the key driver which a fintech player must evaluate the provider on. That messages will get delivered, whether it is a SMS or a WhatsApp or voice call. And depending on the use case, for example, you mentioned millions of OTPs, billions of OTPs, which we all experience daily. That is also time critical. So it is not just about delivery, it is also about timely delivery. So reliability on, in that sense. And also financial services, almost all players are looking for business continuity. They're looking for...
Vish, are you saying that for me to check how reliability, now no one says I'm not reliable.
Yeah.
Right? So how do we check the reliability? Is it that for how long the company is in the business or the kind of volumes they are managing at the moment?
Yeah, more, for example, when we are interacting with clients in our, say, prospecting stage, they would typically ask us reference customers, the scale we have handled, and so on and so forth, use cases which we have delivered. And over the years, now we have examples from different verticals. In fintech particularly, we have customers all across. So we can quote some use case or the other which will appeal to the buyer. We can strike the chord. So I think it is about answering the questions of your customer in a manner which can give him that assurance that yes, this is the right partner. And apart from reliability, one other thing which is important is that ultimately services can break. So how good is the support? Now, companies like us need to differentiate on how good is our support. Can we offer 24/7 coverage? And like I was talking about business continuity, how good is our platform infra from DR perspective? Do we have single point of failure? Do we have enough coverage with our operator connects, our suppliers? So all of those things we have to highlight to customers who are making the choices of procuring a service from us.
So Neil, to you, yeah.
I just wanted to add on, I'm sorry, I mixed up the names, Vish. I wanted to add on what Vish said. And actually, you know, this is a panel, it's the end of the conference. There may be some banks in this audience, I'm not sure. But I wanted to say something a little bit controversial compared to, or building off of what Vish said. In our experience, what the customer is looking for, and Saraf is here, who is our head of sales, it's all great, the track record, the reliability, it's all great. Ultimately, they're looking for the cost. Everyone is trying to cut 1 paisa, 5 paisa from that pulse rate. And quite frankly, as now we're sitting in the CPaaS panel, so I have the mic, it's very, 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 very frustrating. I think we have some CPaaS people here. So it's this race to this bottom is what I feel. You're trying to save 1 paisa per pulse or whatever it is, and oftentimes it's just it's that kind of pricing competition. I wish it was different. I wish that we could potentially compete with other services on value, because I think there's a lot of value that can be created by the CPaaS ecosystem. But oftentimes it's about cost, and the reason why is, again, going back to what I said earlier, which is this deprioritization of customer experience. Most of our clients, when we go into pitch, we're not actually pitching against, for example, you know, another CPaaS solution, right? We're not competing with ValueFirst. What are we competing with? Nothing. what we're competing with is apathy doing the status quo, not sending customer communication or sending just the minimal that is compliant with RBI regulation. So I think that there is also this, what I urge this entire industry to do is to prioritize the customer experience. Think of it as not a cost center, but potentially as a profit center or as an area of strategic value of differentiating your services and then being ready to pay that premium and challenging us as a CPaaS industry, right? We should be able to provide exciting new ways of engaging that customer that actually lead to lower customer acquisition cost, higher LTV, ultimately more profit. That's really what we should be competing on, not on cutting like 1 or 2 paisa.
So Neil, in this case, how do fintech companies look at the ROI from their fintech spends? Right, because, so I have a fintech play as well. Right, so I'm wearing multiple hats. I have a CPaaS business as well as a fintech business. Right, so I'm in a better position, I feel. But today the language, the initial pitch of everyone is almost the same. Right? In this case, how do a fintech brand look at ROI from their CPaaS spends? Because ultimately, when the language is same, right, and there are multiple players at the moment who are in the business for a while, right? Managing billions. India is, while living in India, we get used to volumes. I was in Dubai last week and was talking to someone from Citibank and they were like, yeah, we generate about 10,000 cards we acquire every month. बोला यार यहाँ तो हर रोज होते हैं इतने cards. Right? So in India, we are used to volume. So I think Vish is a better, will be able to give a better answer, but I think SMS itself is about 50, 60 billion now, Vish, India business.
So industry volumes are about 60 billion per month.
Exactly, that is
phenomenal.
Right,
like,
6,000 crores.
Every Indian twice daily almost.
Yeah?
It is phenomenal. Now, to answer your question on ROI, I think ROI is a very complex subject because there are some use cases where the ROI measurement is very tangible. You can simply measure it in a second. Meaning, let's say you run a SMS campaign or a WhatsApp campaign, you know the cost, and then you get, say, X leads out of it. You can calculate the per lead cost was this. So that's very, very simple. However, there are things which you do using CPaaS providers. For example, you may want to automate your entire customer acquisition cycle using a WhatsApp chatbot combo. Now, in that, what you are doing is you are digitizing everything. So your customers can upload their KYC in a chat. And for example, we have a OCR capability where if a customer puts their Aadhaar card, we can capture the Aadhaar card number and continue with the KYC process and so on. And then now what is happening is we are replacing manual processes with complete digital, that too new age digital processes. Now how do you create a ROI measurement on this? What really is happening is that you are making it easy for your customer,
and I think you're
the whole experience.
I think because you are removing human intervention, your cost for people goes down, right?
And I think other thing is that your consumer delight is going up. So for example, if your churn rates drop, which automatically means that the way you have now created a service using the CPaaS play is working. But it cannot be quantified as easy as a promo campaign outcome.
Neil,
I think it's well said. I just, one example, I think you have to get creative with the metrics for sure. A few of our use cases, one use case that we focus on, particularly in the financial domain, is on collections. So a lot of our clients are relying on Awaze's solution to not only nudge the customer to repay their EMI on time, but also to actually pay digitally. So we offer that sort of combo of sending a reminder message, and from like DPD 1 onwards, and to also not only remind, but also to provide a UPI link where they can actually pay digitally. So for those use cases, you can come up with some form of customized metric. One of the metrics that we rely on heavily for the collections use case is collection rate, right? So oftentimes clients give us like a deep OD bucket clients to send messages to, and then they compare it. Maybe they do a before and after kind of comparison on collection rates. Another more sophisticated metric that a lot of our clients like is, because we work in microfinance where a lot of the collection is happening in cash, they like to look at the impact to on-time repayment rate. So it's not just repayment, but was it done at the EMI due date? Because the challenge is in microfinance, if you do not get the customer to pay on time, then probably you need to send a field staff in person to go collect at the doorstep. Now that is a very expensive proposition. So they're trying to save those costs, and so they're measuring the corresponding rate, which is on-time repayment. And I think another example, just we're now going to be shortly going live with a conversational AI use case with one of our clients. And that use case, they're trying to encourage, it's more like a product promotion, a product upsell, so it's savings account usage. So we're trying to, through a conversational AI, we will try to encourage that customer who has shown like low or zero balance in their savings account, encouraging them to save. To deposit into their savings account. So the AI is trained with a bunch of different reasons. It's going to say, the customer is expected to say, no, I don't want to save, or just be evasive. The AI has all the different responses all ready to go to try to convince that customer to save. And of course, there the metric would be increase in the balances or the savings rates for those clients.
In fact, I also got reminded of an example, and buddy loans especially. So one of our clients offers personal loans. So they would send a message to the customer, an SMS, that your CIBIL score is great, you have a pre-approved loan. To avail the loan, send an SMS to a short code, or there could be a call to action that call this number, give a missed call to this number. Now we replace that with a different call to action. And the call to action was that if we embedded a link to a chat, like a chatbot conversation. So the original message is the same, the call to action has changed. Now with that, because most of the phones are digitally enabled, their data, so the friction point has gone away, so consumer would click on that chat conversation, and our customers saw significantly higher conversions happening by that change in call to action. Now these are things which as CPaaS players we come to learn, and when we are working with players in the ecosystem, we use our domain knowledge to add value.
Nice. I think one of the most important thing is the kind of scale which CPaaS can bring in. Today when we are doing things manually, right, there is a limit, and the chances of error are much, much higher. I think CPaaS closes, or I think opens much, much higher capabilities, much higher scale it can bring in. In a nutshell, what I understand from you is that the kind of scale which it can bring in, humanly it may not be possible. At the beginning it might look very expensive while you set it up, but I think in the end, once the journey is smooth, it is more frictionless. I think the scale CPaaS can bring in, any other channel which involves human, it may not be viable.
Definitely, and I think we're talking about 60 billion messages. It's a huge population. So at those volumes, scaling human-based operations is just not going to work. And so that's where we were talking a little bit before the panel on conversational AI. I think that it's important to set the expectations with any client, especially right now. It's very early stage with the development of these AIs. I think it's exciting to see large language models do what they're doing. However, I see that this is a long journey to improve the accuracy capabilities and also particularly the steerability of some of these large language models. To set the expectation with the client to say, this is not going to replace your human call center. We are very clear when we speak with clients about our AI solutions that it's not going to replace. What it can do, however, is it can concentrate those humans on escalation of the specific cases that the AI is not able to handle, is not trained to handle, et cetera. So your humans are able to focus on those edge cases, which are very difficult to program even into an open-ended generative AI, and to make it work accurately and reliably and consistently. So humans certainly have a role to play, but yeah, I think we're very excited to see how some of these the AI-enabled automation can address a lot of the use cases. And look, AI it never gets tired, has infinite memory, has infinite capability to learn, can speak any language, and never loses motivation, right? So, and doesn't have to be like retained and all of that. So there is a lot of benefit to bringing in these tools if you do it in a thoughtful way.
So again, so now we understand the benefits, we understand how to choose the right provider, but again, I'm still stuck to my first question of choosing the right provider. Like, what also comes to my mind, see, ultimately, CPaaS business in a simple language, if I say, postman का ये job है, यहाँ से ये message उठाओ और इसको deliver कर दो, right? Now the postman has a lot of information. He has the, unlike envelopes, here it's pretty open, right? The postman also can read the letter. Address भी उसको मालूम है. Now, security is something which you were talking about during the initial conversation also. How does a fintech player be assured in terms of security? Because today we are seeing, so because of multiple hats I have, so we have Value Leaf, which is into performance-based marketing, then we have Buddy Loan, then we have Whistle, which is our CPaaS play, right? We keep coming across players from the CPaaS industry directly, indirectly, which are saying this kind of segments I have available if you want to do user acquisition. Somewhere these segments are available to them because of their CPaaS play. Right? They know, okay, fine, these are active users who have received an OTP from one of my clients. Or today there are multiple ways because AI, ML have, the technology is so advanced now, right? People are able to put in multiple algos to figure out to create different buckets of customers. How does a fintech player ensure security?
I think it's a trust matter of trust simply, because there are bad apples everywhere. So you cannot paint the whole industry with the same brush. That is number one. I think very important for a CPaaS player to keep their commitments to the customers, which they sign contractually, that we will not look into your data, etc. They need to actually implement that. And in some sense, there are methods also to prove to the customer that, look, we have access control of this kind, starting from there. And then how our storage is encrypted, how our messages, the communication is through an encrypted fashion, end to end. You can demonstrate all of that. And like Neil was saying in the beginning, the audits which are done by financial institutions on CPaaS players, it is a cycle which repeats every month from one bank or the other, whether it is something as simple as what we call as VAPT through to specific security tests. So all of those we have to comply with. So the good thing is, because we do that so often, we have enough evidence available with us to create that trust with the customer. So it needs a player who has expertise, who has experience, to be able to engender that trust, but not simply by saying it, by demonstrating it through tangible documentation, tangible audits, and so on.
I am not a techie myself, but my understanding is encryption is like a lock. Right? ताला आपने लगाया तो चाबी आपके पास है. Ultimately, you can, if you have encrypted it, you can decrypt also if you want to. Right? I'm not trying to paint the entire industry. Right? But there are multiple such cases available. Means we get calls saying, I have Aadhaar ka ye database, I have ICICI Bank ka mobile numbers, I have this, that, right? Multiple such cases are available and we have experienced it. Might be the leakage is happening at the bank's level also. Right?
Yeah.
Is there a way which you see, Neil, in the future, that is there a possibility that the encryption happens at the fintech players end itself, where instead of a mobile number, I hash it in some way and send it to you, right? And no one in the process is able to yet decrypt that yet, mobile number. Are you seeing?
No, I think that a lot of those solutions are already there. I mean, if you think about something as simple as SSL, it's an end-to-end encryption. Like when you send a WhatsApp message, it's using that kind of that end-to-end encryption. We talk about also quantum computing coming online. I heard someone actually just yesterday in a panel talk about how, and I think it's theoretical, it's actually not practical, but in RSA encryption, which is like our entire internet is encrypted with RSA, can be broken by a quantum computer. So our whole infrastructure around security has to continually be evolved. I kind of just side with what Vish said. For security, the model that I always go with is only the paranoid survive. You have to, and actually the RBI governor said something really nice yesterday on this topic. He said, as technology providers, we often look at all of this security auditing and so on as a hassle and as an obstacle to overcome. But he says you have to change your mentality. You have to look at it, you have to embrace it as the rules of the game. This is the basic standard for which you have to move forward, because we all have to take the data privacy and security measures very seriously. So to me, it's just being very paranoid. Embrace all of these audits. Try to achieve as many certifications. We're actually in the process of getting the ISO certification, which we haven't done, the 27001. For us, we look at it as like kind of good hygiene, yep. You know? And so having those checks, being very open, if there are issues that we're able to discover, we look at it as a celebration. Okay, there's one less way in which we can, that we won't let our client down. So I think you just have to continue to evolve your systems and be able to try to stay on top of these things as much as possible. And it gives your client more assurance when you have all of those certifications as well. I'll say last thing. Personally, I have a friend who was in the fintech space. He created an amazing, I won't name the company, but he started an amazing financial CRM company and had a number of like really high blue chip clients as on his list. And he had like 3-4 years ago, it was before COVID, I was just texting him, how are things going? And he just texted me back 3 lines, we have a data breach. He just texted me, we have a data breach. And like the shivers that go down my spine when I get a message like that for another friend's startup. And 2 years later, he was out of business. 1.5 years later, he was out. So I remember that story. That's like only the paranoid survive. I remember that story. I remember him, and I remember that scenario and how stressed out he was. And we all just have to take it basically that seriously, because it could be the difference between being in business and being out.
Yeah, I'm sure. Means yesterday, as you mentioned, RBI governor was saying, right, as founders, we often tend to chase valuation, P&Ls, and forget why we were in the business, right? The long-term vision somewhere goes away. So in the end, what I would like to ask you is, are there any new, chatbots and SMSs, emails, voice, all of this is something which our country has already experienced. Is there anything new which you see, any innovation which you see in the near future we will be able to see in CPaaS?
So I think innovation is happening all the time. And first of all, in our business, number of channels are expanding all the time. It depends on which country you operate in. For example, in India, India is a WhatsApp-heavy market. In India, RCS can definitely take shape, so that is something which is beginning to happen. But in other countries, there is Telegram, Line, Viber. So depending on where your business is, some of these channels are picking up momentum. So as a CPaaS player, you need to have your capabilities, APIs for almost all of these. Apart from that, I think AI component within the business, for example, in our business, we use it in our chatbot product because there are chatbots which are straightforward, which are like predetermined flows, but there are completely AI-driven chat interactions as well. So there is that continuous investment going in that. But what is really more important and relevant right now is that we are also changing from multi-channel to cross-channel, where the entire consumer journey can be followed by using one or the other channel in a manner which is not linked by, or which is not predetermined. It is actually on the basis of how the consumer is behaving. So automatically where consumer is, your messages can reach. And
Neil, your last bit on this?
yeah, just to conclude on this, I think other innovation which is really important is on the security, preventing fraud, anti-phishing. All of that is, I think, also very, very relevant, especially with all the fintech innovation which is going on around us. So as CPaaS providers, we need to continuously invest in that. So, thank you.
Yeah, just echoing Vish. I mean, for us, what we're betting on is a few key trends. One in customer engagement is voice first. Make voice a first-class citizen in all of your interactions. Second, vernacular, being able to converse in any language and in any dialect. Third, which was mentioned, is omni-channel, and not just omni-channel in silos, but being able to shift and potentially even interacting with your customer inside of Roblox or something like that. And then the last is personalized, and that's where the AI comes in. AI is a technology that inherently lends itself to personalization, and to me, that's the key unlock for CPaaS companies in the future, is be able to deliver a very personalized experience for each and every customer with a button click.
So with this, we end. I'm excited to see the technology evolving in the CPaaS, and I'm sure our communication is becoming more. No? Okay. So we are running short of time. Thank you so much.